This program has been made possible by funding from First National Bank of Alaska and the University of Alaska Southeast. On a spring morning in Juneau, students clear brush from a local gravesite. They are members of the Wuchien Culture Club at the University of Alaska Southeast.
I think what we're going to be doing next is cleaning the gravestones and organizing it because it's been vandalized several times in the past 50 years.
These young Alaska Native students must overcome the challenges of balancing culture and community obligations with school and work. Not only are they expected to obtain a Western education, they are entrusted with the difficult task of keeping their traditions and revitalizing their languages in a rapidly changing world. For more than 10,000 years, the indigenous people embraced tradition, passing down skills and knowledge from generation to generation. With new contact came new ideas, and to exist, they adapted.
Just a generation or two ago, the point of going to college, the point of leaving home was to learn how to be a non-Native person. Students now are a little more savvy and they understand and they're demanding to carve out their space as Native students. Not just a university student, but as a Native university student.
Today, young Alaska Natives are responsible for more than learning and preserving their culture. They must also work to shape and define it. When pursuing a higher education, an Alaska Native student might spend 6 to 10 years, or even more, on their college track. This may appear to be problematic on paper, but by studying the stories of individual students, it's easy to see that many Alaska Natives aren't so much dropping out as stopping out. They take a longer time to finish school because of their many cultural and community obligations. To better understand this phenomenon, the College Track series has been documenting the academic progress of several University of Alaska students since 2004. These are their stories. When the College Track series began in 2004, Amanda Bremner had just graduated from Yakutat High School and was beginning her college journey at the University of Alaska Southeast.
I know for anything that I want to do in life, I'm going to need a higher education. No matter what I choose to do, it will be oriented around my home and my culture.
Amanda approached her first semester with enthusiasm, but found college to be more challenging than expected.
I was preparing myself to go to UAS and focus on my school, and I didn't think about the social aspect. And at first, I was really lonely. I was the only student from Yakutat at the time, and I wasn't making a lot of friends in my classes.
Facing social and financial hurdles in her first semester, Amanda began to look for other options.
I found out that the tribe in Yakutat was also going to be offering a language program, so I decided to save some money, move home, and still be able to learn the language.
During that time, the person she was closest to, her brother Nathan, was diagnosed with leukemia. Nathan passed away on July 4th, 2005, and a totem pole was raised in his memory.
That was symbolic in so many ways. I mean, just that it was the first totem pole raising in Yakutat in over 100 years. You know, that's just kind of when it hit me that the culture will come back. We just have to work at it. And that's when I decided, well, to have it come back, I need to teach it.
Amanda spent the next year away from school and returned in the fall of 2006. She found in her brother's memory a renewed sense of determination and a strong motivation to continue her education.
If I was going to honor him, it was going to be through my education, through graduating.
Over the next 2 years, Amanda would change her major several times, but always with the idea of teaching in mind. She found support through PETAs, Preparing Indigenous Teachers and Administrators for Alaskan Schools, a federally funded program designed to increase the number of qualified Alaska Native teachers.
In terms of the PETAs program, I think there's a lot of things that I can do to support our Alaska Native students to keep those ties with their community. And oftentimes I have students who, after a year or two of being on campus, I allow them to take courses distance so that they can be back at home. Mandy's a good example of that. She finished up her bachelor's degree the last 2 years being in Yakutat, where she was teaching the language and working with elders so that she could become more fluent in the language.
Amanda now works with Dr. Mitchell and the Yakutat elders as part of an extraordinary revival of the language and culture.
She's an apprentice teacher of the Tlingit language, so even though she's learning it, she's taking what she has learned and turning around and teaching it to others.
Gone is red, blue is geest, and yellow is slag.
A lot of the young Tlingit people, such as Amanda, have picked up the challenge now of realizing that it's their responsibility to pass this on to future generations.
Developing new ways to celebrate and demonstrate the Tlingit language has made it more exciting for local students and community members.
This was really the first time that parents were able to come see all of the kids demonstrate their language abilities. And that is encouraging, just to see how many people in this community care about the language as much as we do.
In addition to her work with language, Amanda has another project, documenting and recording Tlingit names.
One day we just sat down and Nellie said, at UAS, you've been learning how to write and we need you to write these for us. And Lena told me, she said, I'm gonna give you a name. You're gonna be mother of all the names.
Kashaita. 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 Kashaita.
Amanda's college track has been a winding path, from her initial struggles to fit in at the UAS campus, to overcoming the tragedy of her brother's death, and eventually finding a way to pursue her education while engaging in the culture and community of Yakutat. Less than a year after receiving the honor of her new Tlingit name, Amanda is ready to step forward and receive another honor, one that at times seemed unreachable. 7 years after graduating high school, Amanda accepts a Bachelor of Liberal Arts in English and Social Science with a minor in Tlingit language. Ben and Marita are a young couple from Heideberg and, like Amanda, feel a strong tie to their community. Marita graduated high school in 2005 and 2 years later received an associate degree in professional piloting. After seeing the effects of logging near her home of Heideberg, and at the urging of her brother, Marita chose to continue her education by pursuing a degree in natural resource management. One of Marita's challenges is balancing her devotion to her community with her school responsibilities.
It's hard to understand where I'm coming from because I want to leave for 3-4 days and say I need to go home for a totem pole raising, but I'll be back and I missed class, and a couple times I've dropped classes so I can make it if I didn't go to that totem pole raising, I would feel like I was turning my back on my entire community, let alone myself and who I am.
Beyond an obligation to community and culture, Marita and Ben also have an obligation to each other.
Ben and I are doing one semester, I stay home with him, and then one semester he comes to Fairbanks with me. So that's really going to prolong our schooling, but it's worth it because it's what works for us.
I've kind of gone to school sporadically ever since I've started. I think it seemed like I've only gone to school in the fall, it seems like. I went to school a full year my freshman year. Then ever since then I've been going back and forth in the fall and usually coming back in the spring to be with my china.
Ben's china, his grandfather, is one of the last fluent speakers of the Haida language, and Ben records lessons with him as part of his studies at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. At the Tlatsin Culture Camp, Ben has an opportunity to put his education to use, passing on the Haida language to a new generation.
It's an immersion experience with looking around with our beautiful environment and then having so many folks talented in whatever they do, storytelling, weaving, the language. Going from a student to a teacher did intimidate me at first because I was second guessing myself and I wasn't sure if I could take that step. And I knew it was my obligation since I'm learning the language. It makes no sense to keep it all to myself.
Ben preserves more than language. He and his brothers are involved in the Heideberg Totem restoration project. Ben researches the designs and documents the process while his brothers carve the new totem poles. Ben and Marita are on college tracks extended by community obligations, cultural preservation, and a commitment to one another. They may not fit the mold of the four-year college student, but finishing school comes second to honoring tradition and fighting to revitalize the Haida language, one with fewer than 10 known speakers. Gloria Anderson grew up in Yakutat and, after graduating high school in 2002, began her college track. She attended schools in Washington and Colorado before making the move to Juneau in 2005 to pursue a bachelor's degree in elementary education. Like many rural Alaska Native students, Gloria has a deep tie to her community and a strong obligation to her family.
It's hard to be away. You have so many commitments. You're a part of such an intricate web that when your string is pulled, it's hard to not respond.
After a few semesters of study, Gloria, like Amanda, faced a great personal tragedy.
I came here to UAS and everything was going fine for a while. I was on track, and then my mom passed away, and that was a really big life change. I tried to keep going to classes, but my mind was just in too many places.
Emotionally exhausted and still reeling from the sudden tragedy, Gloria continued school but failed many of her classes the next semester. During this difficult time, she formed a close bond with another student through her involvement in the Alaska Native student group, Wuch'een.
Tlingit kenach gush yuchat duasag, Gleka kenach Ralph James Wolfe yuchat duasag, Ch'ak nachatsati, Kushkadi ayachat, Shuk nachadi yadi ayachat. My Tlingit name is Gushk. My English name is Ralph Wolfe. I am an eagle, and my father is a Koho.
Ralph began his college track after graduating from Craig High School in the spring of 2000. After attending college out of state and running into financial hurdles, Ralph decided he was pursuing the wrong degree.
I came back to school at UAS to still trying to get that business degree I thought I wanted, and that didn't work out after a year, and ended up going back home to Craig and working, and ended up subbing at the school district. And that's when I figured out that's what I wanted to do, was teach.
Ralph started school again at UAS, this time working with renewed motivation.
Lots of people nowadays, my age and younger, don't know where they came from, don't know a lot about their culture. This is what my grandma told me. My great-grandfather wouldn't teach her Tlingit because he didn't want her to know it. He didn't want her to get in trouble, so he didn't teach her. She didn't speak it, and now I'm learning it, and she knows words because she was around it. And I guess the first time I said a couple words to her in Tlingit, she almost cried. It gave me the strength that I needed to go on to see how that affected her, just to learn my culture and to try to get over, I guess, the oppression that was put on us as natives, I guess, is what is helping me and what's making me still teach and try to share as much knowledge as I know.
Together, Gloria and Ralph began to immerse themselves in their culture, taking on leadership roles in the Wucheen Club and strengthening the cultural context of their education.
Well, knowing where you come from has a big impact on knowing where you're going or knowing what you want to do.
In the Tlingit language, Wucheen means working together. The club's home in the NRSC, the Native Rural Student Center, is a place for students to build community and find a home away from home.
So Wucheen is the student club, but it's more than that. It's more like I call it a little family that we have here.
Wucheen puts on events to bring the Native community in Juneau to the university students. It gives the Native students a louder voice.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Wucheen, I don't think I would have made it this far because the support you get here is phenomenal.
If I've got a moment in between classes, I'm hanging out in the NRSC. It's home away from home.
Programs and clubs like Wucheen create a support structure for Alaska Native students, while also providing a way for students to share their culture with the campus and community.
All we're doing today is we're gonna go into the water asking our grandparents for strength to carry us through the day.
An example that really helped showcase that for us here on the Juneau campus was the students, the Native Student Organization leading the effort to raise a huge totem pole right outside here.
You know, this is for us to make it a more unified campus, to make us stronger, to help bring all the students together. And that's like the whole point of this totem pole, and that's like the point of our Wucheen Club is, you know, we're trying to be as unified as we can and be as strong natives as we can be and working together. I mean, we raised like $250,000 in a semester of school and we all went to class.
These students clearly a lot of them weren't clan leaders, and it was not a single clan doing this. It was something new, but they worked together and consulted with clan leaders, and the local clan leaders gave them advice, and at the end of the day offered them lots of support and cheered them on.
This is a great experience for all the people that are involved with Wucheen, but I mean, some of this work that we've had to put in has been like amazing, and like definitely I learned a whole bunch outside of the classroom from this. It's going to be so awesome I almost can see the day when we're raising that totem pole and, you know, we have this big community of people here, and they're all like, yes, you know, we're putting up a totem pole here, and, you know, these kids, I mean, these students did it.
Hey, down! Easy! Down easy! Watch your head!
We have elder seating and clan leader seating set up here in the middle of the courtyard.
What's going to happen is once we raise this pole up a litll bit, we'll just do the carving dance. My brothers will do the carving dance. I'll get up there and I'll tell everyone in Haida, whoever carved this pole, to come forward and show yourself so we all could see you.
Gitsta sugjanges klarsauja. Har squeezed staru. De lunk tengen on. Kedawan, Sinudikia. Svojan, Sinudikia. Vidusvas, Sinudikia. Beyond, Sinudikia. You guys have a good, tough job. It's gonna have a tendency to swing.
We're muscling this thing on our own, really. Yeah, I know. If it weren't for her and I, this would all be over. Pretty much fall. Yeah, I pretty much would fall.
Warriors, are you ready? I can't hear you. I said warriors. Are you ready? Huck, stop! Line leaders! Pull! Coming!
With the Eagle Totem raised on the UAS campus and balance restored, it's time for Gloria and Ralph to turn their focus back to education and completion of their college track.
I've been pregnant the whole time, the fall semester, so I took 18 credits, and that was a lot to handle, but somehow it didn't seem that bad. I made it through, and I was pretty tired sometimes, but it ended up being a really good semester, and I got a lot done and close to graduation, so I feel like it was a success.
She just does things exactly the right way, and she's a very, very strong woman like her mother was, and I see it in her, and that's a good thing. And through people like Gloria, this is how the culture will continue, and this is how things will maintain.
Stories of the students we've followed are all unique, but contain similar themes: college track stretched by a desire to remain active in community and engaged in culture.
The world's changing. We have to keep up with it, and if we're going to survive as a Native people, we have to keep working along and learning and growing as well as the world is. However, as a people, it keeps tearing us further away from our culture and our traditional ways, and it's a hard thing to try to balance, as lots of people call it walking in two worlds. We have to walk on our culture side, and we have to walk with the new world, and we get the great task of trying to balance both of those.
The college track for an Alaska Native student is anything but typical. Even those who finally reach the end of their college track may find further opportunities.
I do plan on enrolling or applying for the MAT program for secondary teaching next May. I'm going to take 1 year off because I feel it's finally time that I can spend on learning Tlingit all year. And I told my my grandma Nellie, I said, I'm going to be a permanent fixture in your house, and you're going to get tired of me, just so you know. So I'm going to take this year, and I'm going to just learn Tlingit and spend all the time that I can with the elders.